Good morning again. Welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 194. Remember, I'm telling a few stories today to get caught up because black bear in our neighborhood got into my beehives and I had to spend a long time getting that together. I've had bees for a very, very long time. I think in one of my posts about my life as a steward, I shared how I had learned to beekeep from a very good friend, Keith Rhodes, who'd grown up a Mennonite horse and buggy farmer. And ever since that time, I've had bees myself. Maybe there's been a few years where I didn't. These hives up here that I have in Big Sur, well, I live in a pretty incredibly pure place, I think, in terms of being able to gather honey. And maybe you can see out there, it's just a pristine environment. Definitely no industrial agriculture close by. So the honey I pull off the mountain here is pretty incredible. And I don't use anything hot to process it. A lot of beekeepers process their honey with hot knives, and it burns the honey, which supposedly makes it toxic to our system, at least that part that gets burned. I don't uncap my comb in order to extract the honey using anything but this device that looks like a multi-pronged fork, therefore keeping my honey absolutely pure and unheated. Oh my, it is tasty. Anyway, the bear. Last night and yesterday, I spent all day clearing brush and erecting an electric fence. Now, I had 3 of my 4 older hives already within that fence. The bear had knocked over my 4th big old hive the night before. And so the first thing I did in the morning was move that hive over to its new spot. And the bees were, they were riled up after getting knocked over by a bear and having honey stolen. The bear is kind of reckless. It definitely doesn't give a hoot about killing bees or calming them down. He just goes for it. So first I moved those bees, and they were a little unhappy. Then I put much of the fence in, and then I had to move 5 hives, new hives this year, down into this enclosure that I was making. And the best time to move bees, a hive of bees, is at night because all the bees are inside. They're not out harvesting. And so I did this in the night. Moving bees at night, if you can keep them in the hive, it's great. But if there's any holes or places where they can get out, they're on you. Well, the night before, when I had stood up the hives after they'd been knocked over by the bear, despite having full gear on, the bees, I probably got stung 16 or 20 times through my bee suit and my arms and my legs. I had shorts and a t-shirt on underneath my suit. Well, I didn't get stung that many times, probably only 5 or 6 times last night. But as I was moving these hives, 2 of them were incredibly heavy, even though they're new hives. I strapped them. I taped up all of the supers together so that they couldn't fall apart, just in case I ended up dropping any of the hives. I ended up dropping 2 of them. It was a really rough terrain, wheeling this old dolly over the ground with rocks and sticks. And anyway, long story short, I eventually got them over to the yard, but it wasn't the most pleasant experience. I didn't get done erecting the fence and getting them all safe and sound till 2 in the morning. So anyway, it's been a little saga dealing with the wildlife here. All right, anyway, continuing the stories from 1001 Arabian Nights, especially the 2 Viziers. Now, remember that Shams al-Din has a daughter, and, Nur al-Din a son, Badr al-Din. And Badr al-Din is being kind of looked at by these two demons, a male and a female demon. And Shams al-Din's daughter, Ali, is being, well, prepared to marry this hunchback. He has a double hunchback, kind of a growth or thing on his chest and then on his back as well. Not a good situation. She's definitely not happy about it. And, you know, people are kind of like in dismay who know her, laughing at the absurdity of it all. Meanwhile, these demons, the she-demon says, you know, these two are meant for each other. We should take this young man, carry him to where this beautiful young woman is going to be married. And he should marry her, not that hunchback. I'm sure we can make it happen, she said. Well, the he-demon was completely into the plan. And so he lifted Badr al-Din up in his sleep and began to transport him through the air toward Cairo. Now remember, he was in Basra, and now he was flying over the earth to Cairo in the arms of a demon. The she-demon, of course, is guiding the way so that they will arrive where she knows all this is about to take place. They land on the ground within the city, very close where the wedding ceremony is about to take place. And they lay him down. She watches over him, and the he-demon goes off and comes back with a large candle. And they wake him up. And Badr al-Din is like surprised to awaken. He thinks he's in a dream. He doesn't recognize where he is. Definitely is not in the place where he lay down to go to sleep. The mosque of his father. He's in some strange place. And here standing over him is this unusual form, this spirit that he can see. And it's holding a candle. The demon pokes him a few more times. Said, get up, get up, get up. We have something you're going to do. Badr al-Din gets up. The demon says, listen, you are going to take this candle because there is a beautiful woman that you are going to marry tonight, but she is pledged to another. And you're going to go in when the procession goes past. And you're going to join with all the other candle bearers. And you are to step in and step next to the groom when everything settles down. And every time there is something to be presented to the groom by the fair ladies that will bring it, you are to step before them and reach into your pocket and distribute gold pieces. Know that each time you reach into your pocket, there will be more gold. I have personally taken care of that, said the he-demon. Now, once all of the ceremonial offerings have been made, you are to go into the bedchamber or the baths. You're to go into the baths and get bathed, as is appropriate before a wedding. And from the baths, you're to go into the bedchamber of the princess or the daughter of Shams al-Din. And there, you'll marry her. All this is to take place. We will be here making sure it does. And trust that the horrible hunchback that she is pledged to by the king, well, he will be occupied elsewhere. And then the demons departed. Badr al-Din took the candle, which was lit, and waited. And then the procession came. saw the hunchback, the groom on horseback. They passed by. Badr al-Din joined the procession and walked with them until they got to the ceremonial house where everything had been prepared for this wedding. And when he was there, he just blended in and he walked with all the other candle bearers. One thing led to another. The hunchback was then brought in and placed in a chair where he was going to be presented with a number of things. Badr al-Din, following the instructions, went and stood next to him. And the waiting ladies, the ladies that were celebrating this ceremony, began to come forth to present things to the hunchback. But each time Badr al-Din stood up and stood in front of them. And they turned from the hunchback where they were going and turned toward Badr al-Din, which all of them found him incredibly beautiful, handsome, and loved standing in front of him, and all said, "You are the one to be the groom tonight." And each time they came, he would reach into his pocket and distribute gold coins to all these beautiful women. This went on over and over again. Each time, the same thing would happen. And soon, all of this was over, and the groom was to be taken then to bathe. Well, the hunchback stood up, and he suddenly had this urge that he needed to use the privy, the bathroom. And he excused himself, and off he went. And so, Badr al-Din, following instructions, went into the bathhouse and was bathed and perfumed in a way that probably none of us can ever even imagine. A hunchback goes into the privy and he sits down to go to the bathroom, and he's just taken by this incredible, discomfort in his intestines, and soon he's just making a mess of the entire privy because things are coming out more rapidly than he can deal with. All this being taken care of by the demon. And suddenly, from out of the privy, the demon appears. And it appears as this boar at first, and then as a tomcat, and then in his own form. And he strikes fear in the hunchback's heart. And basically, he's the hunchback, you are to stay in this privy until the sun rises in the morning. And if you wish to keep your life, you will follow my directions completely. And then he took the hunchback, turned him upside down, and forced his head into the privy. In the meantime, Badr al-Din is being bathed. I will leave the story there. Scheherazade probably did as well in the same place. Hunchback in the toilet. Shams al-Din's daughter preparing herself for a marriage with a man she doesn't wish to marry. Badr al-Din being prepared to marry. Now we'll see what happens next. Okay? Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for joining.